All right, welcome back to Potential Mayhem with Aaron. After a busy week in the NBA, we're back to recap the NBA Draft, where the Wizards chose the safe route despite the late debates. Giannis wasn't the only one that was on the move, and we got plenty of league movement to get into. Plus, we'll check in on Kelsey Plum after the Sparks' big victory over the Liberty and the news that the Sparks were handed afterwards. So, tap in, let's get into it. All right, after a few weeks of some light back and forth, the NBA draft went live Tuesday, and we got to put the conversation to rest regarding who would go number one overall. The first overall pick, Washington Wizards selected AJ DeBonsa, putting to rest much speculation that arose late regarding whether the Wizards would consider taking Darren Peterson over DeBonsa. Instead, Peterson went on to be drafted next by number 2 by the Utah Jazz, with Cam Boozer going third to Memphis. So all of the mock drafts were correct. Much of the accuracy with those top picks going in order, except for one selection that I personally found surprising, which was Brooklyn passing up Acuff Jr. He instead went to Sacramento with Mikael Brown going at number 6. So with Acuff going to Sacramento at 7, we look at all the narrative Sacramento had their past season with Mike Brown and what's your boy's name out there, De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio. I think many of us have some thoughts regarding that landing spot for Acuff, but it'll be up to him on his approach there, you know, what he decides to do, how he wants to approach that situation. Now, circling back to AJ, though, I think the uncertainty surrounding AD's future holds quite a bit of weight relating to their future and the success. AJ did mention AD in his interview after being announced that he was going first to Washington, and it's believed AD's looking for an extension. It's going to be a matter of Washington being on the same page. Now, things could get interesting if they choose not to extend AD. We'll get to that again later. Now that Utah has their guy and the league has now tightened the restraints against tanking, what will the Jazz look like next year? They still have Jaren Jackson stashed. They reportedly not pressed to re-sign Walker Kessler before the season begins. Throw Keontae George in that mix as well. They want to see some more prove it from both of those players before committing. So they got off of Walter Clayton with the Triple J trade, which seemed to define a more concrete role for Isaiah Collier. Now they have Ace Bailey heading into his second year while adding Darren Peterson. As of now, it appears the Jazz will never beat that accusations, but it might have worked. I say that to say we might see them play some competitive ball here real soon, making that Western Conference even more competitive, especially with some of these moves that have been made I'll talk about later. Speaking of the following news of Milwaukee trading Giannis to Miami ahead of the draft, the Boston Celtics have the task of figuring out what their next move is going to be with Jaylen Brown. It's been dominating headlines recently. Reportedly, Milwaukee opted to go with Miami's offer with a number of reasons, including the fear that JB may not commit long-term to Milwaukee. He said, what happens if he's unhappy in a year? Miami has decreased their margin of error with limited space to make some adjustments to their roster. Idea of Portland becoming a potential trade partner because of their trade capital had surfaced. With what they displayed last season and Dame returning next season, seems kind of interesting. Building off of the drama from day one, day two brought its own headlines with Detroit trading Isaiah Stewart to Memphis for 3 future second rounders. Thought it was good to hear from Brad Stevens saying Jaylen Brown is a big part of them. I can understand looking to make a move for Giannis if he's available. And I get that once you make that offer, it's kind of hard to pull it back. But you don't just go and find a replacement for Jaylen Brown and everything that he does bring to the table. You can't just plug and play when it comes to what he has to offer. So I understand the thought process that JB wants his own team based off of the comments that he made. And honestly, I think he was feeling some of the pressure of losing that series the way that they did and wanting to get ahead of that criticism. I think he knew it would play right into the narrative of why he's not the guy, and he wanted to help market himself before having to get hit with the heavy critique. and in doing so, his comments really grew legs, and it created a different narrative than I think he intended, which could have put him at the forefront of trade talks. But who knows? That might have already been something that was in the works prior to. If they, lost that series, I think there was a legit concern on the Bucks' part and wondering if he would want to leave Milwaukee or want to make Milwaukee his home, staying long term. And I think both parties avoided disaster. Celtics would probably fare better re-examining their roster needs and addressing their identity moving forward. And if Kata is going to be their guy, what they would give the Simmons trade as a grade would be, at this point, I find that to be interesting as well, because if they still had him coming off the bench, do they get past Philly? Embiid was their biggest ick in the series, and probably if they faced the Knicks with the way that they were rolling, it might not have made a difference. But Simmons at least gave them another threat that could, get to the bucket in a number of ways. I know his contract was an issue. They wanted to get away from that. And I believe that was a big part of them leading them to wanting to get off of him. But it doesn't seem like adding Giannis, that's been challenged remaining healthy, with JT, who's still recovering, really seemed like the best pairing. Though Stevens was non-committal and per Shams, the Celtics are still actively engaged in discussions. It wouldn't surprise me if the Browns don't move or if the Celtics don't move from Brown. But an alert with breaking news wouldn't be much of a shock either, right? Now, today's been busy in flipping the league around and rearranging the shape of the league. Now that the draft has concluded, everybody has been looking to solidify their rosters by addressing those big contracts first. After the Giannis trade, the Lakers locked in Austin Reeves with what was followed by a shocker in Charlotte, trading LaMelo for Naz Reid and picks. Charlotte has since finally traded Miles Bridges to Phoenix for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first rounder. I say finally because that's kind of been floating around for a while, which further digs into the Hornets fans as they were just getting their feet wet with an almost playoff visit, losing in the play-in. Seemed they were showing some promise and had since traded those key pieces. The Wolves currently have Gobert as their big man, and I'm interested to see what their plans are moving forward after the draft and them blessing Ayo with the new deal. Their odds to win the chip have decreased significantly since the trade, and wondering if there's a multi-year plan in place to try to address those needs. To make matters even more interesting in the West, Van Vliet has opted in, and he'll be returning to Houston, so the Rockets get their point. Clippers could be looking to get younger and move Kawhi due to an expiring contract, and Toronto could be interested in re-ing up. Bradley Beal has declined his option and will hit free agency following his injury as well. So like I said, the Clippers most likely are going to be in rebuild mode. Now, in the midst of reports stating a lack of interest in teams trading for Ja Morant, we found out today he'll be heading to Portland as Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray will be sent to Memphis. Morant will be joining Drew Holiday and Dame Lillard and a host of other guards that makes you wonder what their ultimate plan is. They still have Avia, as well as two bigs and Williams and I forget the other dude from UConn. But it'd be interesting to keep an eye on to see what happens if they do mesh. Now, the headline for today made its claim when news broke Draymond Green declined his option worth $27 million. Considering the Lakers have reportedly not been able to reach LeBron, there's discussions the Warriors could be looking to make a path for AD and LeBron to reunite in the Bay, joining Wardell and Draymond. So, Kristaps has extended on a 2-year deal worth 40 M's on Monday. Per ESPN's Wendy, the Dubs have reportedly offered Milwaukee 4 first-rounders for Giannis that the Bucks declined. So they still have that they can use as trade capital. Wizards sent 2 first-rounders to the Mavs for AD. So Lakers could lose Marcus Smart in free agency as he declined his option, and there's chatter that there's interest in Houston. And on top of all of that, Ayton's opting in, but news came through this afternoon that Jalen Duran has a scheduled call with the Lakers. There's a couple others staying put, beginning with Champaign and Dort and GTA. Also, Miami was able to re-sign Wiggins, which helps in their pursuit to build a roster. I was thinking Ja could fall in their lap, but now that that's off the table, it appears this may not be attainable this year. So there are discussions that Clay could be making his way to South Beach, but nothing official yet. And Jonathan Kuminga is the new free agent. After signing a new deal last summer, what is his true value after looking like he may have found a home in Atlanta, but the Hawks declined his option? There's an indication they don't feel he really fits their agenda based on that move, as he had some really high highs once he arrived in Atlanta, but similar to Golden State, he would find himself struggling to find minutes and really attributed to some inconsistency in decision making, especially there in late game situations. So I imagine there's still some interest at just what price will it be and where. I mean, it's possible he could, return to the Hawks for less, but I doubt that'll be the case. The Knicks choosing GTA and Shamet could mean the end of the Mitchell Robinson era, since James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, made it clear that they will not enter the second apron. But everybody will always have a need for a big that can rebound and defend, so he'll find some interest somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Clearly, it struggles from the free throw line, place some limitations on him, but those pros are some solid ones to have that he possesses. News broke that the Sparks' Kelsey Plum will be out 4 weeks with what they're calling the lower left leg injury. This came after their win against the Liberty. I had my concerns that she had recently returned in that game from injury with the taped lower left leg, then left, returned with more tape. For her to return with even more tape, I asked at what point does this get considered pretty relevant? So the news doesn't really surprise me. It does suck that, it's coming after that dramatic win and it felt like they could build something off of. Hopefully this allows her the opportunity to get healthy and finish the season strong. Professional sports has a history of being real descriptive when reporting injuries. So when you hear something as vague as a lower left leg injury that keeps a player out for weeks, I think reading between the lines is key. KP spoke with Justin Russo earlier this month per CBS Sports regarding the list of injuries she's endured and the rush of returning from them, stating, quote, "I think it's been an accumulation over time of heavy usage." She said of her current injury. She acknowledged it was a soft tissue injury while declining any specifics to Russo. So, with that being said, there will be some opportunities for Sparks to get some shine, as most likely that could be a significant blow to their season. Who knows? Maybe they could increase their draft odds. And all right, so while the Dodgers have been quietly making their way through the season on their campaign to do the, all while battling injuries, they've still managed to put an impressive record of, at the time, 52-29, overtaking the Braves for the overall top spot in baseball. They're currently up on the A's right now. Yes, that means number one for those in the back, but that doesn't mean you don't celebrate those milestones along the way. Last week, Wednesday night, Mookie Betts hit his 300th home run in Minnesota. The number 300 is a significant winner in MLB's history, which means that puts him amongst other notable milestones and awards. Mookie joins a list of sluggers in the history books. Mookie, who has been known to have an active bat, has suffered some injuries in previous seasons and had to work his way back mid-season, then went on to win back-to-back chips. And he shares some adjustments he's made in preparation for the season in the Hall. So to see him reach this milestone is reinforcing, as All-Star Weekend will be approaching soon. I think he and some of the other guys have already been announced as either they're in or they're finalists. I can't remember, but we'll revisit that.
Lincoln, LeBron James made the decision on Tuesday here that he will enter free agency, but not only that, he has decided to leave the Los Angeles Lakers.
I knew it was over. But it hit a little different when you actually hear the confirmation that, it's a wrap. Once we got the news that Austin Reeves was getting the money that he was getting, I think that it was a foregone conclusion that LeBron was going to throw the deuces and close this chapter and move on to the next phase of his career. Because it wasn't so much, I figured it would have something to do with the amount of money that he'd be willing to accept. But I think there's more that goes into it. when you look at the amount of money that the Lakers are giving AR, that means that they're going to be having a certain level of expectation. LeBron made those comments that he's never been a third option in his career from high school to didn't go to college, or he didn't play in college, but since he's gotten into the pros until last season. I think that's a pretty strong indication that he has no desire to be a third option moving forward. we got to the playoffs. I remember hearing a lot of people, saying that Lakers didn't stand a chance without Luka and AR against Houston. Granted, KD was injured as well, but they damn near swept Houston, right? Get to OKC, give them a run for their money. They weren't fully staffed; they didn't have their entire roster playing, but you look at the supporting cast for LeBron and that Lakers team, and I think maybe they might have overachieved a little bit. But you look at the fact that what they're paying Luka, what they're now paying AR, if LeBron would have chose to return, what his contract would have looked like, and I just don't have the faith in Rob Pelinka or the Lakers that even if LeBron would have came back on it, and the reason why I omitted it should have been there, I should have kept it, but my true feelings at the moment when I heard the news about AR getting his money, I'm not upset that AR got paid. Man, you did what you're supposed to do. My thing is, I feel like it's not the brightest decision by the Lakers to pay a guy that can score a lot of points, but we've seen time and time again struggle on the defensive end of the ball. That amount of money, when you guys are just complaining about how much LeBron was making and how that limits Rob's ability to put a team together that can contend for a championship. Now I'm already surveying the league and just like, well, what do these options look like, right? Like who can you get to fill these positions? Because most of these players are already locked up, in situations that, you're just going to take quite a bit to try and pull them away from, their current situation. So I'm just not really seeing it. I see the Lakers had meetings with Walker Kessler and Jalen Duran. We'll see how that goes. Really, listening to the discussions, it's strong possibility that Detroit's just allowing Jalen Duran to go out and speak to some teams, Sacramento and the Lakers, to see what kind of offers they have for him, just so he can kind of feel what free agency, what his value is, so that when they hit him with their offer, he's not feeling like, which I don't know if they already offered him something, and that's the reason why he's taking these meetings. I know he wants that max money, but after that playoff performance that we saw, it's just kind of like, what do we do? You know what I mean? So I think that there's that when it comes to Jalen Duran. If you're Walker Kessler and you're looking at this team that Utah's putting together, right? It's like, do you want to stay there and see what you have with Utah coming up? I mean, with these weapons that they, pretty much assembled to play alongside of you, that should make life easier. They're younger than, what this Lakers core looks like. I think they're actually better. I wouldn't be surprised if Utah comes out at the end of next season in the playoffs a higher seed than the Lakers. That wouldn't shock me at all. So would you really want to? I mean, I get it, it's LA, but would you really want to leave your current situation for that situation? Nah, I don't know. But I said all that to say, it was announced today that Rich Paul reached out to the Lakers. He informed them that LeBron said, hey, It's been real. Y'all can go ahead and do what y'all need to do. I'm not coming back. And that was released to us early this morning. So that's kind of been like the headline for today's news. That was followed by Kawhi is confirmed. He's been sent to Toronto for Brandon Ingram, who will be coming back to LA this time as a Clipper. And it looks like, or wait, I take that back. Unprotected first round picks in 2031, 2033, second round picks in 2030, 2033, and a 2027 first round swap. I thought I had saw somewhere where they did say that BI would be returning, but I have to go back and find that. And then on top of that, looks like the whole reunion with AD and Golden State is actually not going to happen. The Wizards have stated that they're not interested in trading AD. They came out today and made that statement stating that they are not listening to offers for him. And so that doesn't mean that LeBron won't still be going. That just means that the reunion that we were, kind of getting hyped up about the possibilities of will not be taking place. But you look at it, Chris Stapps is still staying there. You still have Draymond, who's going to return. You could add LeBron into that mix along with Wardell. That could possibly mean that they don't have to move Jimmy Butler once he returns from his injury. And LeBron made it clear today that this next move is going to be more so based on happiness, based on, where he wants to go. It's not going to be based around money, which, leading up to this, it's almost been like a cardinal sin to consider LeBron taking any less money just because of what it could potentially do to people behind him. But I think he's looking at it like he's not really the guy that's carrying the torch anymore when it comes to that. So he doesn't really need to do that. This is more so about, I think it's fair to say that this is probably going to be his last hurrah. So he wants to go out on his own terms, and I respect it. I can dig it. But as for now, we don't have an update as far as where his destination will be. We just know that it will not be in a Lakers uniform, which is, I'm not mad at it at all. But it is, kind of like, this is the new reality, right? So we'll be on watch to see what comes across our timelines and our phones next to see what's going on. But that is the most recent news in this whole LeBron Lakers saga. So we'll just wait and see what's coming up next. Also, the Heat signed Tim Hardaway Jr. So another shooter, another guard, wing to go out there to pair with Andrew Wiggins, and as they try to continue to fill out their roster to support Giannis and Bam and what they got going on there. So we'll stay tuned to see how this unfolds as well. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Potential Mayhem with Aaron. A lot moved this week from the draft board to the trade market, and there's still plenty left to unfold. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, tap in for the next one. Until then, stay locked in. Potential Mayhem with Aaron. You know what I say. So every day is a great day to go out there and be great.
I wish the way I was living could stop serving rocks, knowing the cops is hot when I'm on the block.